Hi there, it's Amber's Rabbitry, and today I'm going to show you the three main cuts of meat that I use when I butcher rabbits: the loin, the hindquarters, and the forelegs. I tend to often save the carcasses to throw them in a bag, throw them in the freezer, so that someday in the future I can thaw a bunch of carcasses, boil them, make rabbit broth, pick the carcasses, and have shredded rabbit. But I'm not going to do that today, just the parts. Here we go.
Alright, so a lot of times I tend to pat dry the carcass, even though this is optional, doesn't need to happen. It was soaking in the cooler and I just kind of like to keep my space dry. So I was patting it down and here are our parts. This is the loin. This is one of the most important parts of a meat rabbit. This is the hindquarters, one of the biggest cuts, and then the arms, which are the three main parts we end up parting out on the rabbit's carcass. Some people also do the back strap, and I'll show you that later as well. I'm going to leave in the process of parting this out for those of you who want to see the logistics. I'm not excellent at this yet, but I'm getting better with time, and I'm just going to let you watch how I remove these parts. So you want to cut through the base of the scapula, and some people include a little bit of the tissue past. I kind of keep that to a minimum usually, but just a little bit. And then I try not to leave on much neck fat or blood, just try to keep it pretty separate. And there we have it, the first of two wings. These are great shallow fried, deep fried, or used as a part in any rabbit dish. Cooked in a sauce, baked, crock pot, instant pot, whatever you like. And there we have it. Both wings are removed, and now I'm going to work on the hindquarters. This is my favorite cut of meat. It's just got so much on it, and it's actually pretty fun to separate from the carcass once you get good at it. You kind of have to navigate around the socket as well as the pelvis shape, which protrudes a bit into the meat of the muscle. You have to cut down along the edge of the upper pelvis, which you can feel by pushing in. And basically, once you get it isolated to that socket joint, it's very, very easy to remove. And I will maneuver this carcass in various ways just to make sure that I can get around the pelvis without losing any of that meat. I try to get as much of the meat as possible. Alright, slow but sure, we got that socket joint real well isolated. You can see that right in there. There are some minor tissues you can kind of slice through, or you can literally just pop it out. At this point, this is the most satisfying part for me. And there you have it, my favorite cut of rabbit. This is just so delicious, and it falls off the bone when you cook it right. I'm going to remove this second side, and you can just watch. And done. Those are both of the hindquarters. And now we'll move on to the loin. So this is how I've been preparing this for a long time, but I'm kind of switching it up now. As you can see inside there, we have the filet mignon, excuse me. And then I kind of remove this belly skin because this doesn't really have much substance to it. So it's kind of left with the carcass when I freeze it. But lately I have been freezing these bone in, and to do that I remove the pelvis and the rest of the carcass so that it's a bone-in cut, including the filet mignon and the bigger part of the back strap. However, later in this video I will also show you how to do it boneless. So you go under this rib, try not to include the ribs, they're very difficult to remove later. And then I kind of do, you can feel the rib right there. And then I kind of do a slice on both the top and the bottom here just to cut through the flesh. And then all it's going to take after that is a good little twist, and you might have to sever some of the spinal tissue. Twist or a crack like that. Yep. And then after this top portion is removed, you'll be working on the pelvis. Note, you can see that there's some meat here that was left. I'm going to remove this later, and I am going to save that as well as boneless, but this is our bone-in piece of the loin. And yes, we're going to remove this pelvis. So yeah, I'm big on not wasting. So I'm going to go back for those backstrap pieces, and I'm going to show you later how I can get all of that meat out. And with a good twist, there we are. That's our bone-in loin piece. This cooks really well. There's a lot of meat on it. I'm going to remove a little bit of this extra fat because I'm just not a fan of that. But yeah, this includes a really good thick piece and is great for a parts meal. Alright, so if you're going to save the carcass here, you can put these belly flaps in, put that pelvis in there, and freeze those accordingly until you're ready to make broth, in which case you can boil the rabbit in some water and spices if you want. And yeah, it can be a really great way to save all the extra meat, pick off any excess like this piece I'm cutting off now. The reason I'm cutting this though is because I'm not planning on saving these carcasses, so I'm trying to remove everything now instead of later. But if you are going to do broth and picking the rabbit carcasses, you can have kind of a shredded rabbit that way, and it's a great way to use the rest of the meat and not waste anything at all. So this part of the back strap, it's maybe even considered like the tenderloin or something. It is very easy to remove this upper section. I just saved these so as not to waste, and they'll be added to my boneless freezing. So here are all the parts of the rabbit: the bone and loin, the 2 front legs, the 2 hindquarters, and then some extra meat from the back straps. That is 1 rabbit's worth. On this next rabbit, I'm going to show you how to remove the back straps boneless. This is actually my first time doing this, so I'll show you how this goes. I'm going to first remove the arm and hindquarters so that I can expose it properly. And there we go, the area is exposed, and I will go on to remove the boneless piece. I'm going to remove the belly flaps here too. This is optional, it's just the first time I'm trying. I'm getting it out of the way. And here I'm going to be really careful to not cut into that meat and just carefully remove this without ruining the cut. Now I'm going to remove a little bit of this layer as well, because this is not what I find the most enjoyable to eat. I'm going to pull it aside off of that loin. Okay, now I'm going to do a slice all the way along the spine. Sometimes you can see some spinal tissues, cords in here, and it's important to not include that in the cut of meat. So it's a little bit out from the bone itself. And then I'm going to cut downward a little bit. And as I go, I can kind of carefully fillet this cut away from the rib cage and the bones, as you can see here. It comes out pretty easily, and you can kind of just tug on it a little bit, which is helpful to make it smoother. I'm going to do a better job of this later in the video, but this, again, it's my first time, experimental. I'm just letting you see all of it, even though it's not the best. But yeah, there's the cut. You're seeing it come out. And that right there is a pretty decent chunk of boneless meat, especially from a rabbit. They're, not the hugest animals, so looks pretty good. I'm excited to see how to prepare this. In doing this, though, you do miss that filet mignon, but on the rabbits, it's pretty small, so it's not a huge loss. It looks like this is my next video for the removal of the back strap, in which I was getting more efficient, so enjoy. It seemed that my second and third time trying this backstrap cut, I was getting more meat out of it. So I'm not sure what I was missing the first time, but this is all trial and error. Same for you when you start. And it's good to just see how you can get better over time. This is a bulky piece right here. I'm really excited to see how I can prepare this. And the rest of this kind of peels out real easy. There you have it, an excellent backstrap. I'm pretty sure I got all the meat out this time. And so now I can feel a little bit better about throwing out the carcasses and not wasting much of any meat on there. And there you have it, the parts and organs from 4 rabbits that I butchered today. That's a lot of meat, guys. I saved the liver, kidneys, and heart as pictured here. I find them all edible. The kidneys are actually my favorite, oddly.
Thanks for coming along as I parted my rabbits. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I will seek to answer them. And as always, I am right there with you learning, so if you have any tips for me, leave those too. Thanks.